Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good to see you this morning. I'm Jeffrey Boyd, Alderman for the 22nd Ward and also Chairman of the Housing, Urban Development, and Zoning Committee. And we are here today to kick off our second town hall meeting to talk about the American Rescue Plan Act, aka ARPA funds for the city of St. Louis. We have allocated, as the Board of Aldermen, the first $249 million, but we have an additional $249 million that will be forthcoming sometime in May or June. I'll have everyone introduce themselves, that's up front, and then I'll talk about some parameters and we'll get going and respect everybody's time. So we'll start from my right.
Alderwoman Carol Howard of the 14th Ward, just a little bit north of here.
Alderwoman Marlene Davis, 19th Ward, basically from the south to the north of the city, starting with Shaw neighborhood going over to Jeff Vanderloo.
Did you introduce?
I did.
Hi, Alderwoman Ann Schweitzer. I'm probably a lot of your alderpersons if you live in the 13th Ward, this neighborhood. Thanks so much for coming today.
And Louis Reed, President of the Board of Aldermen, City of St. Louis.
Okay, we're going to do this decent and in order. We're going to give everybody at least 3 minutes. Some people may go over here and there. I'm going to be a little flexible. But 3 minutes, when the timer goes off, I'm going to kind of do this. When it gets to about 2.5, I'll wave at you to kind of let you know we're coming up to 2.5, almost 3 minutes. And to kick it off, we're going to shift to the president. He's going to kind of talk to you through the process of how we got the funds and where we are today.
All right. I think I may stand.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. First, let me just thank each and every one of you for coming out today. The receipt of these ARPA funds is something that could be truly transformational for our city, but it all depends on how we use them, where we put them to work, and if they pay, returns for us the next 10 to 15 years from now, right? So if we use them strategically, we can see our city, we'll see our city transform like never before. Just give you a little background on how we ended up getting over twice as much as St. Louis County. So St. Louis County is over 3 times the size of the city of St. Louis, but they got less than half of what we received in terms of ARPA funding. And the reason why is because they used the block grant funding formula to determine what municipalities would get. And block grant funding formula includes things like the percentage of poverty and the number of houses that are below the average income across the country and across the median area, and things of that nature, vacant abandoned properties and all that stuff, are included within that formula. So when we take a look at the conditions that exist north of Belmont, those conditions allowed us to get well more than a municipality just next door to us with 3 times the population that we have. The President of the United States, the House and the Senate all have said that it's really important that we use these funds in a way that help to uplift and change those areas, because rightfully so, they said that those areas were the hardest hit and will take the longest to recover post-COVID. And the reason why is because when you think about the small businesses within some of the areas of North St. Louis just hanging on by a thread, it didn't take much to just knock them completely out of business. And the families in and around those areas that relied on those jobs, those jobs may never come back because they were barely there to begin with. So part of what we've done in this first round, second round of funds, second board bill, was to appropriate some direct funds to some corridors in North St. Louis to shore up some of the areas in North St. Louis. It's roughly $37 million. But we also appropriated funds to do, business grants and things all over the city, right? So of the $249 million, the $37 million was to targeted corridors in North St. Louis. Now, when we look at what the funding can be used for, the federal government really opened it up in their final ruling. So there are roughly 4 categories of funding pools that are included in ARPA. The first funding pool would be revenue recovery. So a revenue recovery or revenue replacement. And what they allowed is they allowed municipalities across the country to put together a projection of what their revenue losses were to date and what they expected their total revenue loss to be. And then we had to submit it and get it approved. We were approved for over $340 million under the revenue loss or revenue recovery section. And the reason that's important is because that's the most flexible section of all. So what that means is that of the roughly $500 million that we're going to receive, nearly $350 million can be utilized under that revenue recovery section. And that section is wide open. It allows very wide latitude. Virtually anything our government would normally engage in, we can use those funds under that category. Everything from roads, streets, and bridges to small business development, to home repair funds, all sorts of things we can use those funds for under that category. The other category is premium pay. So under premium pay for employees and people who would normally engage, like frontline workers and folks like that, police, fire, and individuals like that, we can appropriate funds under that premium pay section to give them bonuses and give them pay additional compensation for the work that they're doing on the front lines. And we also have, infrastructure, so water, sewer, and all those things. So under that infrastructure line item, we can appropriate funds. As part of infrastructure, you have to think beyond just, water and streets and things of that nature. You have to think about things like, broadband. So broadband is really important because we know now that development happens along broadband corridors. So if we establish a major broadband corridor through the city of St. Louis, naturally what we will see for years to come is the growth of businesses and things in and around that broadband corridor. Like people like to live around parks, right? Businesses, people like to live around parks and along bodies of water. Businesses like to live and like to exist on broadband corridors, right? So we'd see some growth from some of those things. And the last category, did I hit all of them? I think I hit all the categories. I lost count. Thank you all.
Yeah, I'm here for it.
So what we're going to talk about today are just ideas. What kinds of things would you like to see within your neighborhoods and communities? When looking at these funds, what type of ideas would you have to help us assure that these funds continue to produce results into the future? Finally, the timeline. What's the timeline? We don't have 10 years to spend the money, right? But it doesn't mean that we should spend it just like our birthday money, tell our parents to drop us off at the mall and we're going to buy everything in every store we can until we run out of money, right? That's not what we do. But that's not the plan. So December 2024 is the first date that we have to keep in mind, right? That's roughly 900 some odd days from now. And at that point, we have to have every dime of that $500 million obligated. December 2024. Now, 2 years from there, December 2026, the bank accounts have to be empty. Every dime that still exists within the banks, within our bank account, and after December 2026, federal government takes it back, right? So So we have a very tight timeline, which is why you all probably heard a lot of us members of the Board of Aldermen, we were going crazy about the fact that we had lost those 200 days at the beginning and the money was still sitting in the bank account. Because when you think about it, we only have 900 days left, 200 of them are gone, right? So we have to be really, really on top of not just appropriating the funds, but appropriating them and making sure they get out the door. This here, the committee you're sitting in front of today is the HUDZ Committee. So a board bill will go to the HUDZ Committee. Jeffrey Boyd is the chairman, and that board bill will be adopted and altered and changed within that committee. A lot of the things that you say today, hopefully you'll see mirrored within that board bill. And once that board bill makes it out of committee, then it goes to the full Board of Aldermen for adoption. And that's the appropriation process. We appropriate it. After we appropriate it, then the executive branch, the mayor's office, and the various different city departments will carry out that appropriation in accordance to the board bill. So thank you so much for being here today, and thank you for giving me the time to talk to you about what we need to get done today.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this is pretty much informal. I'm excited to be here. The Board of Aldermen committees don't come out in the community very often. It's kind of a rare opportunity, but I thought this was a good opportunity to get out and really talk about almost $500 million coming to the city of St. Louis. So we're going to do it where if you want to speak, just line up at the microphone. And here's what I want you to think about as you make your recommendations. What is it that the city could do with these funds that would increase your quality of life and the city as a whole? Okay? Again, you're going to have 3 minutes here and there, and we're going to start with this gentleman here. You're going to state your name, give the 100 block where you live. For example, I'm Jeffrey Boyd. I live in the 1400 block of Rowan Avenue.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Bill Monroe, and I live 5445 Maple off Union. And I'm here today in support of funding and saving the Beaumont High School campus. There's a school called Beaumont that's crumbling, it's deteriorating, it isn't utilized, and if we don't do something, it's going to look like that school about a mile east, and it looks like something in Ukraine. How many of you remember Central? Is that Central? Yeah. It's Central High School. And we have a plan and a project in front of the Board of Education, St. Louis Public School, called Harriet Tubman Preparatory High School and Career Center, to take Beaumont High School, save it, and save it for the benefit of our children. And this affords an opportunity unparalleled, unprecedented. You're right, brother. There's nothing ever like this. And I want to say thank you to Mayor Tessara Jones, who issued a letter to the foot-dragging Board of Education for the St. Louis Public School. I call them foot draggers because they have come to some moratorium where they want to wait 18 months before they back a school like Harriet Tubman and saving Beaumont. Our children are dying in the streets for lack of education, skills, and job training. Our children are carjacking us, and we as adults have become afraid of our own children. And we have an opportunity to take Beaumont High School and return our children to the brick and mortar school buildings. And I'm asking the St. Louis Public School for a mission or method of understanding or mission of understanding with the Harriet Tubman so we can go in and take charge of that school and educate our children. And I'm reminded of something. If you build it, they will come. Our children need food, clothing, education, love, and understanding. I'm an ex-cop, so I know that the police issue is not working for our kids. We have to encompass and bring together education as a collaborative to train our kids. And last, before I leave, this picture here is, and I hope somebody send this to Joe Biden. He's sending billions of dollars over in Ukraine. And I'm not knocking that. They need a lot of help. but so did this community. And what Joe told me at, what's that, the restaurant that used to be Goody Goodies, this is where he embraced me and whispered in my ear, when you get Harriet Tubman going, Bill, I'll help you. So Joe, if you're within the sound of my voice, give Bill Monroe a hand up, because the St. Louis Public Schools, these foot dragging, blank, blank, they need help, y'all. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Mr. Monroe.
Okay, I would like to give all due respect to the honored guests at the front table. But what I was wondering is, Mr. Cohen here? Yes. Well, I had a question to ask of you board members. You know, there are grants. Carl Curry, 3768 Neosha. And what I'm here to talk about, I know that the biggest thing that's going on in our community is to help people fix their homes. Okay, I have a sister here who got a grant to have some home improvements done on her home. The work was not done correctly. And have called Mr. Cohen's time after time, have talked to Mr. Fred Wessler, I guess that's his right-hand man, and no one never returned a call. Have got calls from the Board of Aldermen saying, we have given Mr. Cohen your call, he should be getting in touch with you. No call from Mr. Cohen. Well, what I'm saying is, if you are going to put money for helping refurbish homes, what type of guarantee is there? The person who does the work, is there any type of guarantee or warranty?
Should be.
Mr. Curry, the people you should be talking to is at the Community Development Agency, and the top guy there is Bill Rata, and they're the ones that facilitated that process, and he's...
Mr. Boyd, let me tell you something. You know, I'm 68 years old, and I've been around a long time, and I know how situations go. And I know sometimes, you know, we're not going there, but we know sometimes things are not always, people are not always treated fair. Now, if you have a problem and the city have given a contractor $16,000 and there's issues that need to be addressed, and you have nobody to address it, and then your alderman won't even return a call, well, you give me the number and I will call whoever he is. But I want to get someone who will respond. You know, I'm getting sick of, you know, like Mr. Cohen have been doing, no response. But he have paid this contractor $16,000, but the work was not done. Have tried to tell him to come put your eyes on it to see, and he have refused to. And so you telling me to call so-and-so, but he didn't tell me to call him. He didn't give me, all he said was, I'm not interested.
I'll work with you, I promise you. I'm chairman of HUDZ, and they are under my purview as the chairman of HUDZ, and so we can make sure that you get a response. We put $15 million into the home repair program, and we want to be assured that the homeowners are treated fair and right. So you're bringing...
I'm telling you what have happened. Haven't even been a year, and no one can get no one to come look at the work. And the city have paid $16,000.
Mr. Pere, will you allow us to help you?
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm gonna give you a timeout because we want to know. We want to know,
Mr. Boyd.
we want to know, do you have any ideas about the use of the money moving forward? So I want to give you time to talk
I know
about that.
exactly what he did,
Okay,
and I know what he didn't do.
okay. Thanks, Mr. President. Next.
Sorry, I'm a little short. My name's Allison Sweeney Almond. I live at 7124 Lanham Avenue with my husband and my family. A member of my family's lived at that property. Can you not hear? I don't. Okay, you hear? I'm sorry. We live in the 24th ward, and in my personal or my professional life, I'm a municipal attorney in Jefferson County, and so I've been working with several cities on their ARPA funds and how to allocate that money. I wanted to bring to your attention, and I'm sure you already know, but the issues regarding 911 service here. I represent Jefferson County 911. In last month, 99.4% of those calls were answered in 0 to 15 seconds. Would you need me to start over so we can? I can't because that's hitting me in the face. Okay, are we good now? Okay, thank you. It's okay. I just want to make sure you're hearing this, and I feel like there's a lot of distractions. So I represent Jefferson County 911. 99.4% of those calls are answered in 0 to 15 seconds. I called 911 a few months ago. It took over 4 minutes for 911 to answer my call. Exactly, that's quick, and that can't be because those are, but these are life-saving emergency services, and I believe that 911 dispatchers are the very first responders. And I think it needs to be a priority of this ARPA funding to attract, train, and retain emergency responders, particularly with 911. 4, 5, 8, 15 minutes is not an acceptable amount of time. People are dying, waiting for emergency responses. With that said, one of the things that I heard Mayor Jones say in her campaign is that when you call 911, we don't only want the police to respond. And in the municipalities that I represent, and it's 3 police departments in Jefferson County, one of the things that we've seen is an increase of mental health issues. Almost 30% of our calls are mental health related. And one of the things that we've done is we're developing a position of mental health services, of a mental health liaison that will help work on the police side as a civilian to connect individuals with services for mental health that they may need, that the police can't provide. With that said, I would really like to see a decent amount of this money be allocated to training, retaining, and attracting talent in the emergency service industry. I would also really like to see that our facilities be visited, our firehouses and our police departments, because one of the things I'm hearing from some of our local emergency responders is that the carpet hasn't been replaced in 50 years. And I think part of attracting talent and retaining that talent is to provide them with facilities that they're proud to work in and proud for the public to come into. So I would really just like to request that this board allocate a decent amount of this remaining $250 million to these emergency responders and to their training, because I believe most poor choices, particularly in policing, are made from poor training. So I would like to see as much money allocated to these emergency responders and making sure they're really getting the training they need to move up, and so we can retain these individual emergency responders to become the future leaders moving forward, and we grow them in our own community, because I think that that's really important. So I really appreciate everybody's time, especially on a Saturday morning. I know this is a lot of work for you. Thank you.
Good morning. First, I would like to commend you, Alderman Boyd, for this inclusive process. I cannot say the same about the first round. I think this has been a very inclusive process. I would like to thank President Reed for having the focus to ensure that these revenues go where they need to go to have an impact on areas that's been disenfranchised for many years. My name is Todd Ill. I live at the 1200 block of North 15th Street, and I'm a proud resident of the historical Carr Square community, an organization that led the rent strike, that led to better housing, better inclusion, more stability and economic opportunities. I'm very proud to be a member of Carr Square. First, I would like to say where I would not like to see the revenues go. And I would not like to see the revenues go to rich real estate developers who use our money to gentrify our community and leave no equity and no help for the neighborhood. Organizations like McCormick and Byrne sell us all. So I want to make sure that the community should not get, these rich developers should not get that revenue. Secondly, I would like I would like to see $5 million distributed to each ward so that those neighborhoods can prioritize what is most needed in their community, because the present model don't work. The Board of Aldermen have good decisions, but once it goes to CDA and makes its way over to SLDC, all these regulations and policies, it come out completely different. And the community gonna have access to none of those revenues. And then they have the nerve not even to answer your phone call. So I think that $5 million need to be allocated to each ward so they can get with their neighborhood and find out what their priorities should be. I would like to see $10 million, $10 million to those African American small businesses and those consensus tracts that has been disproportionately impacted by the pandemic for working capital and inventory, to help build capacity and create jobs for those businesses who might have revenue less than $100,000. I think that capacity needs to be built. I think they need to be strengthened so they can provide economic opportunity throughout the process. I also would like to see $5 million in those consensus tracts where where vacant buildings need to be demolished or boarded up, or lots need to be cleaned. I don't think these revenues need to go to the forestry. I think they need to go to small businesses in those communities. We know how to board up buildings, we know how to cut lots, we know how to tear down buildings. We know how to do that. It shouldn't go to forestry. It should go to those neighborhoods that's been impacted by the pandemic. I also would like to see $10 million to go to properties in NS, to boost the stabilization rate from $50,000 to $80,000 so we can stabilize our community, bring some of our families back home so we can have home ownership in our neighborhood. And last but not least, I think the President of the Board of Aldermen mentioned about the lost revenues that came in. Based upon the information that was given by the State Budget Director, Pere, how he listed there was a decrease in earnings tax, a decrease in sales tax, an increase in unemployment in our neighborhoods. That most of those recaptured revenues was calculated based on what happened in our north side neighborhoods, and that money need to be reinvested back in those neighborhoods, because we don't want to have no trash being picked up. We don't want to have no fire department coming in our neighborhood. We don't want to have the services that we need. Thank you very much for your attention.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Can y'all hear me? Yes, sir. My name's Justin Eidelberg. I'm from the west side. I live in the 5800 block of the historic Cabney Avenue. What I would like to talk to you all about two things. First thing, I want to talk about broadband infrastructure and how can we get 10 million or 20, let's say 20 million allocated, because we got to put the COVID tax on it. Can we get 20 million allocated for citywide broadband access and to enhance the tools and resources that you all have already put out? And the reason why, ladies and gentlemen, I'm saying this is because some parts of our city, look at some of your cell phones, you only get 2 bars right now. Where I live at, we don't get a lot of bars. And if you go further page, people that have access to high-speed internet goes from 60% to 40%, 80% as you get closer to the river. And thinking about how we say we're a futuristic, innovative city, these things will enhance our parks. Our children can have interactive parks. Thinking about education, we're not going back to McGraw-Hill books anymore. Our children have shown us they don't want to learn with books. So how do we put the type of technology, those tools and those resources, and invest in the infrastructure that we need now? Some years ago, I know President Reed ain't up here, he put out an RFP for citywide Wi-Fi. I don't know what happened, but I think we need to create a consortium or something, because you know we got Spectrum, AT&T, and a lot of other people. If you don't Google, you won't see who these providers are. How can we work with them and co-create what this needs to be? Because as some of you all may know, or some of you all may not know, our tax dollars help put a lot of this fiber in the ground. And they give us $20 programs if you get benefits and stuff like that. I appreciate that. But how do we make that be the norm? Because with their smart technology, they can help with you all's energy, help your energy costs go down. A lot of people can't get it because they don't have fiber or the airless fiber that's running through some people's neighborhoods. We don't have that. And I'm gonna leave that one alone. And my second thing is, y'all, how do we co-create a new type of affordable housing? And if you know anything about affordable housing, there's a lot of different ones besides low-income housing. How do we create one that's beneficial to those that is market rate? I don't care if you live on Lindo and spend $5 million, or you pay $100,000, or you're a renter, or a student. How do we help create the type of housing that will address the issues that neighborhood CDCs, the city CDA, and also the data that says we have a lot of, Ameren disconnected 1.3 million people voluntarily, residential people, during the pandemic, right? So think about it, we created this new form of affordable housing. I'm gonna call it, say we created a mixed-use district, it would be an energy burden-free district, and we co-create with Ameren and whatever community it goes in to help be a prototype, to collect all the data. You know, people don't like sharing data, but whatever data they're willing to share with amongst like people like you all, and so we can see the cost benefits, because that paperwork they give, energy efficient light bulbs, that kit that ain't keeping these mothers and some of these elders from going to the Urban League. And that's the story that they telling. But how can we do what the Ferguson Commission report talks about, which is radical collaboration, community, Ameren, developers, neighborhood CDCs, and you all, to build what we say we couldn't build before the pandemic. Everybody want to play on our strings. It's time for us to do the same with some of this ARPA money. You know, I just say about, I don't know, about 30 million. Because I don't remember how much Preservation Square costs, but if we're going to do something that's scalable and sustainable, we're going to have to invest in it and not do what a lot of people or our region likes to do, cute and cuddly and charity projects. Thank y'all. I'm sorry. I ran over my time. I'm Justin Heidelberg. See y'all later. Thank y'all.
Hi, my name is Katie Evitz. I live in the 3900 block of Wilmington, which is across the street. I'm here to address the prison level of lighting in St. Louis and the issue with it. In Pittsburgh, the same size as St. Louis went to a dark sky city in 2021. There is no correlation between lighting and crime. In fact, improper, excessive lighting increases crime because it gives criminals the opportunity to look inside a vehicle. And you know what keeps your car safe from people breaking into your cars during the daytime? Your lock, which does not change at night. At night, we are giving criminals the opportunity to assess us and our property by excessive light pollution. It is a form of torture, the amount of levels of light that is produced. I want you to look at the intersection of Grand and Wilmington. The car repair shop has 4 lights on that building that are non-directional, that at the maximum are 15,000 watts apiece. They are forcing 60,000 watts of light on their neighbors. This building here is covered in light 24 hours a day. It impacts my sleep. Circadian rhythms and the messing of that is impacted by white, bright light. This is a mental health issue. We are flooding the city with an aggravating amount of light. St. Louis County, if you look at their lighting, they have a single light at an intersection because that's where you need the light, to see where people are at night. St. Louisans are asleep. We are creating areas for speeding. We have lit up straight areas of street. No one is around. Why not go as fast as possible? You want to slow down your streets? Turn off the lights. We need appropriate, adequate lighting. There is a Midas on, I think it's Broadway. They have these very bright white directional lights, and it shines into the eyes of drivers coming off the highway from the Poplar Street Bridge. The amount of light in St. Louis is insane. We can save money by reducing the amount of light that we produce. It's going to help decrease our emissions, because the more lights we have, the more heat it produces. We don't want people in the park at night. Turn off the lights. Tell them, don't be there. Businesses closed businesses turn their lights off inside. Why? Because they want to tell you, don't come here, we are closed. You want your property to be safe? Stop lighting it up. You can't tell if someone is on your property if you are lit up constantly. Have an appropriately calibrated motion detector so that you know, hey, there's light there, there shouldn't be light there. It's gonna make our police officers have an easier job because they're not scanning bright lights everywhere. They are looking for where light should not be. This is a mental health that impacts our children. We talk about bright white lights and putting your phone down at night, yet the city of St. Louis lights up everything. And when you think about the street lights and how that when they are installed, that if you live on the second floor, you get more light than the street. The light is supposed to go on the street and not into people's homes. This creates a glare issue. There are lights up at the roundabout at Loft, whatever, you know where I'm talking about. There is a very bright white 9-panel light to light up a flag, and it shines down the street. There are options to light the flag and not have it shine in drivers' eyes. People deserve time in darkness. It is good for us. It is safer for us. It is gonna save us a ton of money and help improve our mental health. Let's tell people St. Louis is closed at dark. Go home, be quiet, be safe. Don't give people the opportunity to use light that you don't want them to use. Thank you for your time.
Good morning. My name is Dennis Trask. I live on the 6100 block of Coronado. My wife and I moved there back in the mid-90s. We have 2 sons who went through SLPS. We were fortunate to be participants in the magnet system, Kennard, school name is changing, McKinley Metro, which I believe Alderman Boyd is very familiar with. It's good to see you, Alderman. My wife works for Cardinal Ritter Senior Services. She's done work with senior citizens throughout the city and Metro St. Louis for many years. She and her team do all kinds of amazing things to help senior citizens stay in their homes safely or move to some other residence safely. The work they do is amazing. It's super complicated for many, many reasons that I think folks here would know and understand. I've done a number of things in the nonprofit world. I used to work in city schools as a school counselor for a number of years. And what I do now is what I'm leading up to. I coordinate a community anti-drug coalition in Illinois that's been very successful. We use a very effective process that's literally saving lives across the United States of America. Since the 1990s, the Federal Drug-Free Communities Program has successfully decreased, believe it or not, decreased teen drug misuse in a couple thousand communities across the United States of America. St. Louis would benefit tremendously if we looked at a similar approach here. For $125,000 a year over 5 years, that's $125,000 each year for our coalition. We're in our 7th year of funding like this, not exactly like this, but like this, and we're seeing declines in teen alcohol use, which are impressive. We are seeing more parents, more schools, more communities involved. Drug misuse is one of those things that it affects every aspect of the community. And just quick, who here has concerns about drug misuse and addiction? Right, those 911 calls, the jail, it's terrible. It's just terrible. It's ruining people's lives. One of the other aspects of our work, besides the prevention, is we recently added a recovery coordinator, and his role is to work with all the resources, to develop resources to help people who need treatment to get to that treatment door. Those who are out of that inpatient treatment, who need community support. What are those community supports? My delightful colleague, John Rice, He works very hard to try and develop these resources. We need that type of resource to happen here in St. Louis. We need to decrease drug misuse. We need to increase drug treatment. We need to increase ways to help people get the help they need. If we can do this, and believe me, I'm not just making this up. We could talk later. I can give you some data on these coalitions. They're very neighborhood-based. You know, if you take $125,000 over a few years, you get people involved who develop trust and concern about doing what's the right thing in your neighborhood. Great things have happened, and they could happen here. So I'd encourage you to look at this idea of supporting community anti-drug coalitions. I would say multiple coalitions, because we're talking about, you know, about each ward, frankly, would be a way to go at it. So I'd encourage everyone here to consider this, and thank you for the time.
Hello. I'm Carissa Gilman Hernandez. I live on the 4500 block of the Lozan. Carissa Gilman Hernandez. I live on the 4500 block of the Lozan, and that's in the 15th ward. My pronouns are she, her, hers. Can you all not hear me? Sorry, COVID still exists. I mean, a lot of people are nodding, but a lot of people didn't bring masks, so. Okay, KARISA-GILMAN-HERNANDEZ. Yeah, I'm the 15th Ward Committee woman. I've actually been following the ARPA funds really closely. I try to watch as many of your committees about it. The Board of Aldermen Friday morning meetings are like on my TV while I work. I don't have a good grasp as to where the money has been allocated. I don't have a good grasp of how that spending has already happened and what the outcomes of that spending's goals are. I think that the $500 checks that were sent to individuals was phenomenal. I think a lot of families' lives are changed. I don't actually have an understanding if there was a follow-up plan on that, if there was any kind of insurance that $500 got them to a stable place, and now let's get them to a better place. So I guess my question is, how has it already been spent? How is that spending going? And what are the goals of that funds? And what are your goals moving forward?
I think that's a really great question. My understanding is all the money has been spent. So it was $9 million, over $9 million, I believe?
9,300 persons that were eligible for the fund.
Right.
Oh, no, I mean all of the money. Because there's a dashboard on the city's website that has us allocated, I think, $170 million. And then there is, of that, I think it's only $10 million actually marked as spent. I know there's RFPs that went out, but what is happening with the current money that's already spent? And if we don't know that answer, how can we spend $250 million more?
Yeah. Well, what we will be doing on a monthly basis is having the administration come in before the HUDZ Committee and tell us, how the money has been spent every month. And hopefully they'll be posted on the website as well, so you can get a good idea.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
may I add to that?
absolutely.
I'd like to clarify for the public, because a lot of people believe that the aldermen actually spend money. We don't. We are legislators, we set policy, and we move it on to the executive branch of government. The executive branch of government is responsible for the actual expenditure of the funds. They are also responsible for those various departments to make sure that those allocations are spent properly, and giving you back the reports about that. So that's not our job. We don't spend money. And I know a lot of people think we do, but we don't. We don't spend money. We have no power over spending $1.
And I really appreciate that. And I know that, and I appreciate I bet it's frustrating for you all to allocate things and then hope for the best. But you all also have a lot more power than we do to, get answers out of the administration. And so, like, I've heard that answer multiple times from aldermen of, like, it's not us who spent it. This is the first time I've also heard that's where we're going. I have one other, like, so, I'm sorry, it, like, left my head. I will say, like, this, I've lived in St. Louis for a while. I've been involved for a while. This is the first time I've had the Board of Aldermen answer any questions. That is not okay. That, like, way to go for, like, this is the second town hall. I assume that's the second of 12. But, like, the committees should be in person. They should be a space where we can ask questions and get answers. Because if you all want us to trust you all with $250 million more, then we need to also trust that, like, there's a relationship there, not just with our individual aldermen, but those are on the committees. Because my alderman's not on this committee. So, you know, I don't want to have to, like, pick which alderman I think I have an okay relationship with that week. I should be able to come to committees and say, you know, I have questions. I would like some answers. I have concerns. What do you all think?
Well, I'm very sorry that you're not getting the appropriate information that you would like to have. I attend every neighborhood meeting in my ward. I also answer all my calls and all my emails. And so irregardless to whether I'm on a committee or not, I get the information back to an individual
And I mean,
who asks a question.
and I get those answers from my Alderwoman Green, because I have a relationship with her and she's someone easy to contact for me. I've heard that from a lot of neighbors, that she'll answer on Facebook, she'll answer on Twitter, she'll answer wherever. But, like, it should be as simple as coming to a meeting. It should be as simple as it being posted in a timely manner. It should be at times that people can attend, like Saturday mornings or in the evenings. It should be approachable. And, like, I charge you all with that responsibility. Make this government approachable. So,
Well,
thank
I
you
like
for
to
letting me
say
go
that
after.
before you leave, you should be able to email any alderman, any chairman of any committee, and get a response. I mean, I get a lot of emails every week, and I enjoy emails, and I like to give people facts, because when you look at social media, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and when you question me, I want to give you the facts, even if I have to direct you to the regulations or to the office that deals with it. So feel free to always email me if it's something related to the HUDZ Committee.
I talk to everybody.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name's Kathy Birch, and I live in the 4400 block of Osceola. And first and foremost, I'm a proud citizen of the city of St. Louis, and I thank all of you for what you do. It's been very educational to watch the live feeds of the Board of Aldermen, and it's very educational. I guess I'm here today as a grandmother to plead to you all. I was at a neighborhood meeting the other night and listened to the presentation by the police department and how low they are on officers. And I would think these funds, if possible, should go to okay, can you hear me now? To go to helping us get more first responders, and in particular, police. You know, I heard people say, you know, build it and they'll come. Well, they'll come, but if they don't feel safe, they're not going to stay. And I know this firsthand. In my younger years, I did a lot of rehabbing in a lot of neighborhoods. And that was always the bottom line, why people didn't stay, because they didn't feel safe. And I've heard that a lot on the Zoom meetings with the Board of Aldermen, the different aldermen saying that's what they hear in their neighborhood meetings. People want to feel safe. And, you know, at the end of the day, that's who we have as our first responders, our police, our firefighters. Let's see. So I hope that a lot of funding can be used to whatever is needed to increase what we need. You know, tourism, that's why, well, if they don't feel safe, they're not going to come. It's the bottom line. Now to another thing, I heard people talk about Beaumont. Well, you know, St. Louis City, we have the most beautiful historical school buildings. A lot of them are setting in decay. My personal favorite is the old Cleveland. My God, and it's your biggest piece of property you have. What you could do with that. apartments in the front. It's vacant land. Build houses. They'll come. And they'll come and they'll stay. You'll have a tax base if they feel safe. Let's see. Trying to think of anything else I can use this time for. But thank you for all you do. And we do have a wonderful, wonderful board that really does try to make us all a better place. Oh, I know. My thoughts kind of left my head for a minute. You know, I am so happy that we are getting the mapping agency and North St. Louis can see a resurrection. I'm happy for that. I grew up on the near north side, so I know what it was, and I'm happy to see that. But we got to remember, there's a North St. Louis, South St. Louis. People all want to say that, but we're all St. Louis City. We're unique. We are unique to the country. You know, a lot of people don't have, you know, trying to explain to them, city, county, we are really special. And, you know, I hope I don't get emotional, but I can remember traveling, my oldest daughter, going to the East Coast for school, and people finding out, oh, you know, you're from St. Louis. Oh, the Clydesdales, you know, the Cardinals, this, that, the flood of, you know, Liberty Pere. But now when people say, they talk about the crime and how bad it is, and that is sad to me, because we're better than that. And thank you all for being here.
Just real quickly, I have to go to a candlelight vigil for victims of violence, and I have to speak in like 10 minutes. So I just want to tell you all, you know, thank you so much for the comments. We have them recorded, so we'll be able to play them back and look at them. So I will take time to make sure I look at all of the comments that come today. But thank you all so much. There's a lot of good information floating around now.
Can I ask you one question before you leave? Because I came in late, so maybe you already covered it.
Okay.
I don't understand how we're talking about what to do with this money when my property taxes go up and my MSD bill goes up. Why don't you just let me keep some of my money?
Yeah, and that's what.
Why do I have to pay them to get some of it back and then be told I'm getting help?
No, I get that.
I don't.
So,
That's the miscommunication. I don't get it.
No, my property tax, I don't know about the rest of them, but mine been going up, and I'm tired of them going.
So you're aware of that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But
Okay, so just tell me how it makes sense to say, I'm gonna give you some of your money back to help you while I take your money every month.
Okay, the reason it makes sense is because this comes from federal government. We can get.
No. We sent it to them, and they got it, and I want to get part of it back.
No.
I gave it to you, man.
No, but that piece, we're using, that piece is paying for all of the stuff that you see.
It's my money. I want my money back. I don't want a partial gift. I want my money back.
You're going to allow me No, I'm not going to bullshit you. I mean, for people that know me know that that's not.
You're a good guy.
Yeah, I'm not going to.
I said next to you there is a good guy.
Yeah, and I'm just going to tell you straight. So here's the thing. When people from different sides of the city ask me, why is it important to invest in north of Delmar? Because that's half of our tax bases. Part of the challenge that we have now is the number of households and the size of the community that we have to spread our cost around to. That size has been dwindling over and over again because people are leaving the city. We have more and more vacant abandoned properties. We're going to have to begin to get people living in those properties and get the economic engine going in those areas. That's going to lift the burden on a lot of people across the city. So that's part of the challenge. That's a reality. No matter
lower them taxes, I won't mind.
I'm just saying, but here's the thing. That's a reality. Just like if you jump in water, you're going to get wet. Just like we need oxygen to live, we need water to live. That's a reality that we're going to have to face.
Dysfunctional, and that's the way it is.
No, I'm not saying we're dysfunctional, and that's the way it is. Our current economic condition is that happen.
My money goes in.
Okay, I'm sorry, Mr. President, thank you. We're gonna have to move on, with all due respect.
Good morning. Yes, Is it on? Am I speaking into? Oh. Thank you. Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you all. My name is Ebony Young, and although I'm not a city resident, I am coming to you to speak to you on the behalf of St. Louis city residents whom we serve through the agency that I work for, which is the St. Louis Office for DD Resources. And a number of our provider agencies whom we provide funding to, they're coming against a brick wall, and that brick wall is finding affordable housing for the individuals whom we serve. And it's not just enough to find affordable housing for them in the St. Louis city area. We also need to make sure that they have accessible housing. And when you think about like a lot of the individuals whom we serve, they have like personal care assistants and home health aides and things like that. It's difficult for some of them to get into the homes. The steps aren't safe, or there's not adequate parking, or there's not good parking. They have to walk a number of blocks to get to the individual, and it just makes it very difficult for individuals who are in need of services to get the services that they need in a prompt and in a courteous manner. And then affordable housing also, you know, you want to be proud, you know, where you live and where you're paying your hard-earned money to live. And so we really want to make sure that the individuals who live in the St. Louis city area, they have access to affordable housing, and affordable housing that is going to be conducive to their physical needs. Another issue that we have come across and we can't seem to overcome is transportation. We have a number of individuals in our organization who attend sheltered workshops, and we don't have the means to get all of them to, you know, their places of employment because there's a shortage of drivers, or the drivers, since there's a shortage, they can only go to certain areas and then be able to make the commitment to get the individual to point A and point B on time. And we're having to place people on a wait list, and they're not able to get out and have meaningful activities throughout the day. So we have a number of providers, but unfortunately, they're short with drivers, and they're not able to commit to us, to commit to the individuals when we serve, that yes, we can make sure that we would get them to the sheltered workshop, you know, on time and every day. I just had to tell an individual about 2 weeks ago who had transportation, and it was a godsend because his mother was taking time away from her job to get him to work, and it was very important, you know, that he experiences that and, you know, become a productive citizen, and he enjoyed going to work. And then the provider called me back and said that they could no longer provide transportation because they don't have enough drivers. So then we had to communicate that to the family, and they're back at square one. And that's not a good feeling, you know, to have to tell someone, you know, yes, we were here, we thought we resolved this issue, and now a month or two later, we're back at square one, and we have no other options for you. I apologize. So on a more personal note, I also wanted to share an experience that I had. I did a wellness check on my uncle who lived at 6019 North Point, and I unfortunately found that he had passed away, and I had never experienced that before. And I have to tell you, being in that moment, no one wants to call 911 and be told, please hold. You know, I had never heard that before. Couldn't get through. It took me over 30 minutes to get someone. I was hit with a barrage of questions that, you know, like, how do I know that he's deceased? And I'm like, I'm looking at him. His chest isn't rising or falling. He's cold to the touch. And that still wasn't enough for them to say, okay, we're sending someone. So they eventually did send someone, which was a police officer. He was, I unfortunately don't remember the gentleman's name. He was very compassionate, very supportive, but it took over 2 hours for him to come. And then he wasn't a first responder. He wasn't a paramedic. We had to wait another almost 2 hours. So I sat there in a home with my deceased uncle for 4 hours before anyone could come and, you know, take his body away. And I found myself, being supportive to the individuals that were there because all I heard was, well, it's hard out here for us. We don't have enough people. And again, being a person in that situation at that moment, you don't want to hear you don't have enough staff or you had to respond to all these other calls. So to echo the sentiments of those before me who stated, more money for first responders, I definitely, would like to see that. Little sensitivity training also, and, accessible housing and transportation. And our executive director will be more than happy to come and speak with you guys further. If you want a seat at the table, we would welcome that opportunity. So, thank you. All right.
Good morning, everyone. My name is James Page, and I am honored to serve as the alderman of the fabulous 5th Ward, which just think of us as downtown and near North Riverfront and north, including St. Louis Place, Old North, stop and have lunch at Crown Candy while you're visiting us. But anyway, Ms. Young, you said something that really caught my ear, and that is the word transportation. And I kind of wanted to give you an example of how your ARPA funds are being used to provide transportation. I've worked extremely hard with the city of St. Louis, and by the way, as my dear friend from the 19th Ward said, I did not spend $1 on the program myself, but I advocated for expenditure of ARPA funds to provide what we call the St. Louis Downtown Link. It is a totally electric, zero-emission shuttle service or transportation service that can be hailed within our service area using an Uber or Lyft-like app called TripShot. You can call a specific phone number and get service, or you can, if we have capacity in one of the vehicles, you can just hail us from the sidewalk, and we provide transportation. Now, we have a limited range at this point, but I have managed to negotiate ARPA funds to provide this service for a year, and just think for a minute. I'm thinking expansion. I don't know that we'll be able to do it citywide. That's a big ask. That's a tall ask. But I wanted to give you an example of how your ARPA funds are being used for the citizens of St. Louis to provide transportation, to help seniors get, in my area, there's a zip code, 63106, which is a fairly low income and low rate of vehicle ownership zip code in the city. And this will help seniors and members of my community get to the grocery store, get to healthcare services such as Athenia Health that's right within our service area, get to pharmacies. So we did a soft launch. If you watched the St. Patrick Day Parade and you saw these shuttles leading the parade, we did a soft launch, and then later in the month of March, we did a hard launch at Keener Plaza, and I'm happy to say that the service is up and running. So I wanted to give you a real-world example of how your ARPA dollars are being put to work for you.
And what's the name of the service again?
It's called the St. Louis Downtown Link.
Is it just for seniors?
I could not hear that.
Is it just for seniors?
No. And that's a beautiful question. It is for everyone, and it provides transportation between affordable housing communities, the hotels in downtown St. Louis, all of the sports venues, the Wheel, the aquarium. It provides service for everyone. It is not, it's not limited by any demographic you can imagine. It's for everyone.
Free of charge.
It is free of charge. May I say that again? Totally free of charge to ride from where you are to where you want to be within our service area.
And Alderman, just to back up on that, that particular company has just applied for another grant.
Yes.
Which will expand it further west to come down the middle part of the city, going all the way to the city borders. And hopefully, with the new ARPA dollars, we can expand that program, because I think that it is one that provides a needed service. There are a lot of people who can't walk to the bus stop. They just can't. And we need to be able to make sure that folks are mobile. They need to be able to get out and do the things they need to do. And some just don't have the money either. So.
I appreciate you sharing that information, because a number, and this isn't a dig against like Metro or Bi-State, but a number of our individuals have been told when they call, Metro is saying, well, we can get you there, but we can't get you back. So, you know, these are individuals who have intellectual disabilities, who may have some sort of cognitive disability or physical disability, and, you know, you want your loved one to be able to go to work, and then you don't want them to be stranded to get back home. So that hasn't been a viable option as of late. So thank you for sharing this.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Okay.
My name is John Nicola. I'm from the 13th Ward, a few blocks away. You can't hear me?
I want to put that right in front of you. Lean right
Okay.
into that.
My name is John Nicola, 13th Ward, just a few blocks from here. I just want to remark that I'm glad to know that the corridors up in the north part of the city are going to be funded and get the money they need up north to work on that infrastructure, and because it's been neglected for so long, and I know it's been underfunded since the 1970s, and so that's going to be a great thing for the whole city. So what I want to mention is on River to Pere Boulevard, basically the section between Lansdowne and Gravois is in pretty rough shape. It's pretty treacherous to drive on, especially now. And the potholes open up in the same place. The curb is coming loose. Can you still hear me? Okay. The curbs are coming loose. The lanes are narrow in that section. There's bad drainage in storms. The guardrail, there's no guardrail between the road and the river, and then people end up in the river sometimes. You have to get towed out of the river, from what I understand. And there are sudden dips in both directions next to the edge of the road, which makes it, makes your steering a little bit hard to do sometimes. I understand from reading in the Post-Dispatch that Bethany Williams from the street department has said that the city is working on funding for repairs to include the River to Pere Boulevard. So I'm glad that the issue is being raised. And well, the money for this would have to come from some kind of a big source like we're coming into, either, the Build Back Better, the infrastructure, or the COVID relief, or the infrastructure, or the football money somewhere. One of those three sources of money might have enough money to repair this. I'm just guessing $50 million would go a long way. But it seems that, I suspect that there's been a plan for this project on the shelf for a long time, and it's all out there. Maybe even it's been costed out to find out how much it would cost. I wonder if anybody knows how much it would cost to do that. But this seems like this is our once in a generation kind of opportunity to get something like this fixed, because it's just, it's just really below standards. And I just want to also remark that the 911 money is going to help that a lot. I really think that, that the aspect of having other citizens come in, private citizens come in and do the work of the police that's been in the news lately, that, you know, if they're going to have that aspect that they can do that kind of social work without having to get the police involved, that we'd be a lot better off. So I hope that gets some money too. That's all I have. Thank you, everybody, for showing up.
I'll take this off. Can people hear me? Yes. Okay, cool. So good morning. I'm Kelly McGowan. I live in the 3900th block of Westminster Place. Appreciate the opportunity to be able to dialogue with you all this morning. So in addition to being a resident of the 18th Ward, I also work through the entity EVOLVE, which is an acronym for Elevating Voices of Leaders Vying for Equity. And we work to empower communities to make sure they can advocate effectively for equitable built and food environments, because we all deserve those two things. And so I kind of wanted to make a comment and a suggestion this morning. So I've reached out to every single one of the Board of Aldermen, at least twice, via email, just to say, hey, we're EVOLVE. We want to partner with you to support your wards. I've gotten a response from Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. I've gotten a response from Alderwoman Ann Schweitzer. I appreciate you taking the time to meet with me. But I just wanted to say, EVOLVE, we are here to work with you. We're not asking for additional funding to do our work, which is, again, bringing about changes when it comes to improving food environments and built environments. And I really hope that this, you know, me just bringing this to your attention, we can partner together. EVOLVE is here to work with y'all. I want to say we do work in North County as well, and it's been very interesting and a little bit disappointing for me, because I've had a lot more forward movement with being able to work alongside legislators in the St. Louis County Council, and I haven't been able to have that same relationship and that same collaboration and that same rapport with you all. So I really hope that this is a start, that you all are aware I'm EVOLVE, Kelly McGowan. I will follow up again to figure out how can we work together to, again, bring about sustainable changes and equitable changes to St. Louis, because we all can win and we all need to thrive. So I just kind of wanted to put that out there. In addition to that, when we're talking about this second installment of ARPA funding, I'm a person, let's not recreate the wheel, right? If there are things that are currently in place, there are plans in place, if they are ARPA eligible, can we utilize those funds to invest in them? So two things. So first, neighborhood plans. I know a lot of neighborhoods and entities, they put a lot of work and effort into developing them, and they are community-led and community spearheaded. The plan that's coming to my mind right now is the North Central plan. So is there a way that the second installment of funding, could those dollars be utilized to implement parts of those plans or other neighborhood plans that folks have spent a lot of time on to develop, instead of, you know, the plans just getting dusty, hanging on a shelf? So that's my suggestion for that. And with regards to the food environment, I'm sure y'all are aware, but the health department, they receive funding from the CDC to develop an implementation-ready plan to address the food and nutrition issues that persist in our city. So I know they're working on really bringing about a variety of stakeholders, including community members. I'm part of that effort. And so I'm thinking they're gonna come up with this awesome plan. Is there a way, again, that these ARPA dollars could go to invest in whatever plan that they're able to develop and come up with? So that's my 2 cents. Again, appreciate the opportunity to dialogue with you all. And I really hope that EVOLVE can partner with each and every one of you, sincerely, because we're about that work, and we want to work in our city. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Inez Bordeaux. I live at the 4200 block of Oregon. I'm a community organizer. I'm also the committee woman for the 9th Ward. I appreciate you all doing this meeting. It's nice to see you all in person. I look forward to doing this a lot more. A couple of things. Bear with me, I have notes. I've been taking notes. Namely, where's the rest of the committee? Where's Brett? Where's Shane? Where's John Collins Muhammad, who is currently arguing with me on Twitter about why he doesn't have to come to a meeting on the south side of St. Louis because he went to the first meeting on the north side of St. Louis? Like, where's the rest of the committee? I appreciate Alder Page, Alderwoman Schweitzer, Alderwoman Murphy being here. It's great. I'm sorry, Alderwoman Howard. I appreciate you all being here. But also, where is the rest of the committee that should be here to hear our voices, who are later going to go on to vote on whatever it is that you want to spend our ARPA money on out of committee? Where is the rest of the committee? I'm getting text message from alders saying the chair of the committee didn't take anyone's scheduling into account when scheduling this meeting. I also have a question about why this meeting is here in an affluent white neighborhood, which is very nice. I drove through the neighborhood a couple of times trying to find a place to park. It's a beautiful neighborhood. But why aren't we having this meeting at Marquette Park or one of the local public schools that need ARPA money? Why are we doing it here? Why aren't we where the black people, the poor people, the unhoused people, the members of the LGBT community that are struggling, why aren't we meeting with them there in their community? Why did I have to drive 10 minutes from the area where people need the most help to come here? Why did I have to do that? Forgive my emotion. I'm very passionate about the things that I came here to talk to you all about today. And I'm sorry, John Collins Muhammad is pissing me off on Twitter, so it's making me emotional. I just came really to remind you all that this is not your slush fund. This is not your slush fund to get your pet projects off of the ground. This is not your slush fund to curry favor with the people that you want to reelect you because redistricting has happened. This is not your slush fund. This is not your money. This is our money. This is our money. And so I don't care about potholes and LED lights. I don't. I mean, I do. But you know what I care about? I do care. I do care. Every time I roll over a pothole and I cuss, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to get a wheel alignment. But you know what I care about more? I care about, in a month, our children, many of whom are homeless, who get 2 of their 3 meals a day from public school, aren't going to have anything to eat. I'm worried about citywide broadband access because so many of our children have been left behind. These last 2 years of COVID are going to destroy some of their hopes and dreams for the future because they weren't able to go to school like other kids were. I'm worried about the fact that they're not going to have anything to eat in a month. We should be using our ARPA money for that. This is once in a lifetime money. This is transformative money. Every time someone gets up here and testifies about what they want to see the money spent on, I want you to think one question: is this transformative? Is it going to improve the lives of the most marginalized, the most neglected, the most divested from people and communities in our city? I understand that you all represent each of your individual wards with distinct populations, but at this time when we're talking about ARPA money, we have to make sure we are doing the most good. And that means making sure that no child goes hungry, making sure that no unhoused person has to spend a single night on the street if they don't want to, making sure that no unhoused person freezes to death again in the winter. We have to make sure that poor people are given a leg up. We're asking people to pull themselves up by their bootstraps when they literally do not have boots. You want to reduce crime in this city? Reduce poverty. You know how you reduce poverty? By infusing cash money into the hands of the people that need it. I want to see a universal basic income. There should be a line that no one falls below. No one should be getting evicted from their home. I shouldn't have to drive through my neighborhood and help a family figure out what they're going to do with their stuff now that the sheriffs has set all of their worldly possessions on the street. This is transformative money. We should be using it to transform our city. So we got money coming later. We can deal with the potholes. I'll drive over 1,000 potholes if that means I don't have to watch someone else get evicted from their house in my neighborhood. If I don't have to worry about another child going hungry. Also, in closing, I want to demand that the Board of Aldermen show up for the people in this city. The fact that 3 of the people sitting at this table right now aren't even on the committee that is going to help determine what happens to our ARPA money is disappointing to me. Why are y'all not showing up for us? We have a room full of people who showed up to tell you what we want and what we think, and half of you aren't even here. Half of you aren't even here. Show up for the people of this city in a meaningful and transformative way. I'm begging. We are all begging. Thank you.
Mrs. Bordeaux, is my mic on?
Yeah.
Okay. I understand what you're saying, but I also would like for you to acknowledge the ones that have shown up. And we care. We truly care. We cannot control someone else's
Listen,
absence.
which is why I didn't have anything negative to say about any of you that took time out of your Saturday to show up. Jeffrey Boyd and I do not always see eye to eye, but I respect the fact that you showed up. I expect Alderwoman Evans that you showed up, Alderwoman Davis that you showed up. The other 3 of you, I respect the fact that you showed up when you didn't have to listen to the people. My concern is, where is everybody else? Alderman Page isn't going to have a vote when it comes to what happens to this.
Yes, we will.
I mean, eventually when it gets to the full board, but getting that money out of committee is where it counts. And the people that are going to be voting to get the money out of committee aren't even here.
But what you fail to recognize is that even though he's not on the committee, he has an influence.
We all talk.
We
and
all
he
do.
should be
We do.
here for me to look
We all
him
do.
right in the face. As I'm saying what I'm saying is the point that I'm making. He should be here. They should be here, and they are not. And if they're not taking their obligations to the city and to the people of this community seriously, maybe they should not be on this committee. And if President of the Board, Louis Reed, was still here, I'd say reassign them. If John Collins Mohammed feels like he doesn't have to show up on the South Side, reassign him. Whoever else can't be here and is unwilling to be here, reassign him. Because I took the time out of my day. It's Saturday morning. I don't even get out of the bed until 12 o'clock on Saturday morning. And yet I am here, and I have been here, and I waited in a long line for John Collins Mohammed and Brett and Shane to hear what I have to say, and they are not here.
Let me say this so we can, excuse me, hold on. Let me say this so we can move on. Out of all due
Sir, you can
respect.
keep your smart-ass comments to
Excuse
yourself.
me.
Because if you really want to
Excuse me, hold up.
We don't do that here.
Hold up.
Let's be decent.
Keep your
Tell
time.
him.
Okay.
Tell him to be decent.
I'm saying
Don't come down on the black woman. Come down on the
Hold
white
on,
man
I'm
who
saying-
started it.
Let's, everybody,
I said what I said.
everybody, thank you, Ms. Bardot. Everybody, let's be respectful. Let's continue to do things decent and in order.
That's it.
Even though there are members on this committee that is not here,
We don't know what else.
this is being recorded so it can be played back so that all voices are heard. let's not make assumptions about why somebody is not here. Because I think every seat in this room should be filled and standing room only, but it's not. And it's not my place to demand that or suggest that anything is wrong with the community, because it's not the way I see it should have been. Because we're taking our time out on a Saturday to engage with the community, to make ourselves accessible. But those who can come, can come. Whether you're a member of this committee, whether you're a member of the Board of Aldermen, or a member of the community. We're all here to listen. Let's just work with what we have. Is that okay?
Thank you. My name is Charles Colello. I'm on the 8100 block of Pennsylvania in the South Side. Firstly, since there has been a lot of piling on the 911 system, it just goes without saying, please, more funding for 911. But without funding, could we just get someone in the 911 system to add a prompt to the system so that after you've gotten tired of waiting for no one to pick up the phone and you hang up, and it relentlessly calls you back, that you can press a button that says, no, my problem hasn't been solved, but I don't want to wait anymore. Because the only option is, yes, my problem has been solved, which makes the stats look good, but doesn't tell anybody the truth. I'd like to see that changed, and that doesn't cost any money. As a person who came to St. Louis from another place, I moved here from New York, and aware that the city is shrinking. I hear a lot of talk about, what we can do to develop the communities to raise the tax base. Raising the tax base is only going to happen if we draw middle-class people into this city. And as a middle-class person who moved to this city, what I can tell you is when the lights go down, the number one thing that makes me regret moving here, gunshots. Every night, all over the city, we hear gunshots, and all I hear is there's nothing we can do about it. Let's take a chunk of this money and fund ShotSpotter for the entire city. Let's get the police the resources that they need to make sure, yes, we should raise the salaries of police officers. Again, goes without saying. Let's get them the resources that they need to do their jobs. Faster response from 911, ShotSpotter, more Sky Cops, tools that they can use to help the low-staffed police department that we have do the job that they are trying to do for us. We have a lot of schools that are closed. My perception is we have a significant problem in our city because about your second year in high school, you start to discover that you don't want to go home and stay home after supper. You want to be outside. And there is nothing to do if you're 14 to 25 years old in this city unless you have a job. Or getting in trouble, right? We need to create some youth-oriented programs. Someone in my community has suggested we do some sort of farming type of collaborative where we teach people the art of farming. We need to teach people trades. We have great trade organizations here, but the kids don't want to join the electrician trade or commit to that. They need exposure to ideas that are going to transform their lives that aren't math or science in school, but are real-world solutions. And the only way we're going to do that is by creating places which money can fund for children and young adults to collaborate and grow into becoming productive citizens in our society.
My, that's a hard act to follow. All right. My name is Sean Tooley. I'm in the 1000 block of Mississippi Avenue. And so I would like to thank you, first of all, for making yourselves available on a Saturday morning to be here to listen to us. I know as a civic servant, how hard that can be to be involved in public meetings and such. And I gratefully thank you for your service, because this is service to making us a democracy. So my topic for talking about is the need to invest in tax-generating purposes that raise city revenues for better city services, primarily through community revitalization. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to the existing city employees. As a fellow civic servant, not for the city of St. Louis, I'm grateful to be able to work with the fortunate folks who do work for St. Louis City, and that they are professionals that I work with, and I'm amazed how much they get accomplished despite the challenges that they face being a civic servant for City of St. Louis and the lack of competitive pay. So about stabilizing neighborhoods. First, so amazed that we have Proposition NS. Rehabbing housing is very important because these houses, when we build new houses, they're not the quality level that the ones that we have that are historic, generally. Second would be to reform zoning to be form-based. There was a proposal for that. It was not fully funded. We've seen how it's been successful in neighborhoods like the Central West End, like the Forest Park Southeast. It has actually driven a lot of development as a result. So I'll also encourage that such form-based zoning be focused on urban form, because we've given up so much of our city to cars, such as having parking minimums. We should get rid of parking minimums and have, at most, get rid of parking minimums and have maybe parking maximums in places. We should prioritize walking, not automobiles. So you have roadways like Euclid, which is very successful, the Grove, which is very successful, Cherokee, which is bouncing back. These are walkable places where people want to be, where businesses are thriving, and where housing is thriving as a result because they serve as an amenity. So I'll move on to the next part. So what I'm talking about is our transportation land use future. We are less than a third our former population, and I think we all know what that means, because it means we don't have enough money for all the city services that people here have been demanding. And so incentivizing and prioritizing housing and jobs is very important to rebuilding our tax base. And I would encourage that that would be focused first and foremost along frequent bus routes, which we now, thanks to Metro Imagine, have gone from one frequent bus around the region, the Grand 70, to 10. Second of all, around Metrolink stations, and third, in existing walkable urban corridors. That housing, we've seen, again, like with the Grove, that they're building lots of density and housing where people don't have to use their car. They still have them, but they mostly keep them parked. And they actually patronize local businesses, and the local businesses then feed the income back into our market. And so it grows wealth when we have local businesses supported by residents who live right next to the businesses. That we revive walkable urban corridors. So although we have very good ones like Euclid, Grove, and Loop, we need others like Cherokee, Bevo, Morganford, and Merrimack and Dutchtown, amongst many others, to be helped to revive. And I know St. Louis Development Corporation has put out a request for proposal to help several in North City. That's amazing work. I hope that they tap in the successful folks at like Park Central and others who have already doing it. Because we need, if we want North City and other areas to revive, we need to have professional services that help the community forward. So I'm talking about here on prioritizing housing and jobs along transit routes and walkable urban corridors. It's about affordability. It's about expanding housing choice. It's about mixed income. It's about maximizing tax dollar investment in transit that we've already invested. It's about reducing dependence upon driving, enabling car optional lifestyles, and reducing greenhouse gas emissions and supporting access to jobs. Almost done. So, for example, we saw a neighborhood of NIMBYs turn down Skinker to Bolivar building where it was perfectly located next to transit, an urban commercial corridor where people can get to grocery and pharmacy and other things on foot. And that would have been a perfect building that improves accessibility, improves quality of life, and yet it was turned down by NIMBYs. I feel that we should have reform zoning, i.e. form-based codes, to allow for density and rebuild our tax base. That's all I have. Thank you much.
Yeah, my name's Rom Cooley, 3500 block of Arsenal. You're asking about the money. The city need more trash trucks. That's for one. Okay, we pay, when I bought my house, I was paying in my taxes, I was paying for trash pickup. Now you guys got us paying every 3 months for trash pickup, and it was twice a week and down to once a week, okay? But I'm still paying for it for twice a week. Y'all don't pick up the recycling, gonna start back next month. Okay, I also work for the city. The problem with the city, y'all don't have the trucks. And there ain't no trucks. We paying for it. We need to get the service we providing for, not the bus to take us downtown to a game. Okay, the city needs trash trucks, period. They need trash trucks, okay? You take your trash out, the dumpster's full because the driver ain't been down there, and it's causing problems throughout the city, especially South St. Louis on the state streets where I live, and then North St. Louis where I got property. They take care of certain areas of St. Louis. I work for them, and I know that. They go west. That's what they do because there's not enough trash trucks. Something as simple as trash trucks. And we paying for it. This is a service that we paying for, and you guys not getting it for us. Simple as trash trucks.
Once again, my name is Carl Curry, and I stay in the 3rd Ward in North City. And what I'm here for, to ask a question of the alderman who could give me an answer. And I was just totally ran out the room. All I wanted to know was when people get grants from the city for home repair, do they get any type of warranty or guarantee or anything? That's the only question that I wanted to ask. And no one, Mr. Ball, seemed to not want to answer my question for whatever reason.
No, sir, I'd be more than happy to answer your question. In your situation with home repair, that is a program that is ran through the Community Development Agency Home Repair Program, which is
Correct.
administered by Mr. Bill Rata.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have any problems with that program, he's the top guy pretty much to go to.
That's what I asked. That's all I asked you. You could have answered because I'm sure other people in the room might have the same question.
I tried.
Instead of putting me out
I didn't
because
put you out,
of
sir.
me. Yes.
I didn't put you out. Why would you say that?
Because you gave me no respect, sir, when I asked a question. Ms. Davis was finna answer a question for me about when you get home improvement grants. What type of, do you get any type of warranty, guarantee, or anything? And you just told me, no, you don't ask that here. I don't know what do I ask.
Sir, I did not say that. I was trying to
Well,
tell you who
okay,
to
then, well,
contact.
could you
I'm not
answer
going
it
to argue
now?
with you, but Mr. President Reed was here, and he wanted to give you his undivided attention to talk to you about that process. If you felt I was disrespectful, I apologize. That certainly was not my intent. But you were going on and on and on, and we was trying to serve you the best we could. So I'm sorry that you took it the wrong way, but that was not my intent. But the number is 314-657-3700. 314-657-3700. I will be here after this as well. Okay?
And I also have another issue. And to me, it's an issue. I stay in North St. Louis, right off of Natural Bridge and Grand. And I know that it's a state-owned road, Natural Bridge. But what I don't understand is how, as people who live in the city, how could you agree for the city to put all concrete up and down Natural Bridge?
We didn't.
With no grass, no flowers, no nothing. That's the north side. But I cross Delmar, I see mediums with flowers, grass. And so we got the money. Why can't we do this on the north side instead of just all concrete?
That was a project that was done by
By the state, I
by
understand
the
that,
state.
sir.
We do have an opportunity if Alderman or the city wants to take up some of the concrete and put grassy area in it. I know when the idea was approached to me, I was not interested in it at all. I supported the roundabout at Goodfellow Natural Bridge because it was a very dangerous intersection. And if you go at that intersection, I actually have some flowers coming up there because I did not want all of that concrete. So I can only speak for myself.
We don't want all that concrete.
And so your voice is being heard. You're in what ward?
I'm in the
third
ward.
Okay.
Which may be my fellow gentleman ward.
Okay. And so that is
In the
something.
near future.
That is something
Yes.
that the alderman can work on.
But-
Because I agree,
but
that's a lot of
please,
concrete.
You know, because I pay my personal property tax.
Yes, sir.
I drive around with a car with a license plate on. I'm a paying citizen, and I think that I should be listened to.
Yes, sir.
May I make a comment?
Thank you.
Mr. Carey,
You're fine, just talk.
I agree with you. Before I became alderperson, that plan was already enacted. And I had the same comment. This is like concrete jungle.
It is.
Where's the beauty aesthetics of it? You drive further west on Natural Bridge.
Absolutely.
In Normandy, and you see similar type of, I guess you could say, traffic calming, but it's beautiful.
That is my
You've
point.
got a waterfall in a roundabout.
Correct.
And you have concrete, I guess you could say, planters that are beautiful. And I'm just saying, like I said,
Well, that is what I'm saying.
it was not, I don't think any female input was added to that, was used in that. I'm just saying, because you would have had some type of beautification added to it. And so hopefully, we can add some beautification to it. If I've got anything to do with it, I'm going to insist that we have some kind of beautiful flower pots put there, as well, something that looks nice. When you see it, you want to say, wow, that looks nice. Instead of,
not this is North St. Louis,
what is this?
as Mr. Boyd seemed to not care about.
Why would you say that, sir?
Let it go.
Mr.
Boyd cares. He cares, okay? But we're just going to move past that right now, Mr. Carey. And we're going to
is aware of it. And is someone going to try to do something about that concrete jungle?
We're going to try.
Hold on. I don't want you to have false expectations, okay?
Right.
Understand how this works. That is a MoDOT street, okay? And although the alderperson in that particular area went along with their plans, we can't arbitrarily go tell them to do anything.
I understand.
We can't ask for consideration for some things to be done differently.
Well, sometimes if you don't have to,
and we
you
will
get nothing.
try.
Right.
We will try. But again, we have to also respect that alderman in that area.
I was very well aware.
Okay. But, so we don't want to say specifically that anything will be done.
But I just
But
wanted
we
to...
know it's wrong, okay?
Thank you.
And hold on, we know it's wrong, but you also have to remember too that as you drive past there, it has seen so much destruction already, something different will have to be done anyway.
Well, like she said, it can be beautified.
Yes.
And I live in that area.
I drive by it every day.
And, and I don't think it's fair. Now, Mr. Boyd and on Dr. Martin Luther King, I don't think they have it. So, he may not have no suggestion.
Well, we were all shocked when we saw the finished product.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Give me a second, ma'am. I want to use this as a teachable moment because I remember very clearly when MoDOT had public meetings about Natural Bridge. There was one even done at the best place in my neighborhood, and they reached out to the community. They had at least 2 or 3 or maybe 4 meetings with the community. Not enough people came out. People that did come out, their voice was heard, as in the 22nd Ward. We didn't get all the concrete that other people got because people came out and they said, no, that is unacceptable. We don't want to have that. I love the fact that people came out. Now, this is what public discourse is about, and this is how you protect your community. You have to get out. You have to send a representative. You can't sit back and then say, oh, where did that come from? I'm against that, because the majority of the people obviously was for it because you didn't show up. So you gotta get out. These are the best opportunities. Whenever there's a chance to get out to a town hall meeting or a ward meeting, please go. Please ask somebody to go on your place, because everybody don't have transportation. Ask your neighbor if he or she is going, and if you can get a ride if you don't have transportation. We don't have to have a lot of negative energy about problems that we have. We're here to problem solve. You know, we're here to work together, okay? So, appreciate that. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Nene Harris. I live on the 5500 block of Alaska. And first of all, I want to say I applaud all of you and Alderman Howard and Lewis Reed, who were here today and spending your Saturdays with us. So thank you. What's your first name? Nene. Yeah. First of all, personally, with the money from the federal government that we have gotten, I am hoping that we can spend some of it on trees, like this lady, street trees, more trees in our parks. The trees that our grandparents and great-grandparents planted are enriching all our lives today. So we want to do that for future generations. The next thing is that part of beautification is that our trash department has more trash trucks. And maybe some of that money could be dedicated to that. And the third thing is we need to reinvest in our police department, both in people and in the infrastructure they need. We've heard about 9/11. The people need a boost too. The numbers are down, and that is a social problem, because as much as everybody suffers with crime, poor people, crime has such a profound effect on their quality of life. And when they're waiting for a bus to catch a nighttime job, you betcha that the threat of crime limits or transforms for the worse their quality of life. So again, I thank you all, and I hope you get to enjoy some of Saturday afternoon in this beautiful weather.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is George Slaughter. I'm from the 4800 block of San Francisco in the First Ward. One of the things that's really been a problem that I've been dealing with, I became a member of the board of directors at St. Patrick's Center last year, and we've been working very hard on the homeless situation, downtown especially. And as I do my research and as I talk to other people, we come up with plans and we've come up with ideas to do temporary housing for the homeless and to get them into these safe zones where they can feel safe and they can have proper lighting, showers, and things of that nature. But the problem has been every alderman that we have reached out to, and every alderman that has the power to have something like this in their ward, an encampment in their ward, is saying, I don't want it in my ward. And they're literally blocking the encampments from going into their wards. They're blocking the encampments from being, and there are studies and there are case studies and there are things that are shown that these encampments, when properly executed and properly managed, will add to the community and not take away from the community. And but everybody is saying, not in my ward, not in my ward, and literally blocking, literally putting legislation or literally saying in whatever voice that you guys have, not in my ward. If not in your ward, where? We're gonna push them in the river? I mean, we have the ability, we have the management, we have all of the power to build these encampments, to get the people off the street, to make them safe, to feed them, to clothe them, to shower them, and everybody is saying, not in my ward. And I want to know why, and I want to see a change, and I want to help get these homeless people off the street. And I understand that, and it's a passion of mine because I've seen them. And we had a temporary solution, and you guys know about that, and it worked, but it was only temporary. But now that they're not on Square's property anymore, it's not that big a deal. So now what we're gonna do? Where are we gonna put these people? Who's gonna step up and be the one that says, I will come up with a plan, and I will work with these nonprofit organizations to open up these encampments, to make sure that it's safe, that it's clean, because we have the space, we have the land, we have the manpower, and obviously we have the money. So somebody needs to step up, raise their hand, and says, you know what, I'll put this in my ward.
Raise my hand.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
I was one of the first alderpersons in the city of St. Louis to provide housing for homeless veterans, okay?
I'm a veteran myself.
Ward too.
I also, and hers is really super.
Yes, ma'am.
I also work to build the veterans housing
Sure.
for Salvation Army.
Okay.
Because I believe in helping people.
Thank you.
And I'm currently about to do one just for women.
Okay.
And but I will not ever support people living in tents in the element, ever. I don't think it's human. That's why I talked to my churches at our community center there. We have places for people to be inside.
I do understand
outside of the element, and being safe and being treated as humans.
I understand
There is nothing human about a tent.
But
there is nothing human about a tent. There is nothing human about a tent.
Ma'am, I understand that.
I will not ever support tents.
I understand
I will
that.
never support tents.
I understand that.
Ever.
And as somebody.
And even the idea that they brought to us was to put the tents on the vacant lots of the abandoned school buildings. And what would that look like? That was not a common sense plan.
There's a common sense plan that helps everyone, but understanding the people that we're dealing with, though a lot of people would prefer to live in the tent.
And there's a way to do that too. Okay?
A lot of people don't want to live
When you
indoors.
build a facility that is like the tiny homes we have on Jefferson, that's an example.
Yes, VCP.
But they have a place to store their items.
Sure.
And if they would like to sleep outside,
Correct.
they could. But you make sure that there's a ramp there so that the rain doesn't come down on
Right.
them. There's a way for people to be treated as humans, and that's the only thing I'm going to support.
The original.
The only thing I'm going to support.
The temporary encampment that we had back in January, that was inside of a warehouse. It was not outdoors.
And it worked. It was beautiful.
And even if we were to come up with that plan, it's still being blocked. If we could find a warehouse.
No, we never blocked that. As a matter of fact, everybody
but there was no extension of that plan. There was no.
And who was responsible for that?
The private sector.
No.
The private sector provided the money.
No, that wasn't their responsibility. You see, I can't say this enough. We don't spend money. We don't execute anything.
Sure.
That is a part of the executive branch.
Sure.
The executive branch has to do that. We don't do that. We don't spend money.
Right.
We don't sign contracts. We are legislators.
And that's the question.
So put that with the executive branch.
Right.
Knowing that you had X number of days for that facility to be there.
Correct.
The plan should have been put in place for the next step, for the next part of that.
And the reason
that
why
is how you run a business.
The reason why
running the city of St. Louis is running a business.
Yes.
And you run the business 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's someone always working on a plan of action so that you are being prosperous.
I
That's
understand.
how you run a business.
Yes, ma'am.
But I will never support
My
encampment.
profession is I'm a business coach. That's what I do.
Okay, that's
So I
good.
understand that. But in actuality, what the issue was that the money came from the private sector for that beginning.
We had money.
But nobody.
We still got $100 million that haven't been spent from what we approved before. That's the executive branch. That is not us.
You guys don't vote on that?
It's not about a vote. It has to be implemented. We don't implement.
So-
We don't implement.
I'm confused. I'm
You
a
don't
little
have to be confused, sir. We are
Because I thought that's
legislators.
why we were here, to talk about where the money was
What
going.
I'm trying to say is the money is there, but it's not been implemented.
Release,
spent.
Okay.
We don't do that. That's
Sure.
the executive branch.
Sure. So who
There's
gonna-
$100 million
So
still
you would
sitting there.
support, so you're saying that you would support an encampment as long as it was indoors,
Absolutely.
but not outside in tents, but if we had an indoor facility like a
And
warehouse,
treat people like humans.
of course we do. Of course we do.
There's nothing humanistic
That's why people,
about sleeping outside.
that's why so many people are being serviced through the organization. Okay? And that's because people are treated like
And
humans.
even the
And
camp
we
that
also-
was next to St. Patrick's Center should have never been allowed.
It should
to
never
be
have
that-
been allowed.
It should have
You're
never been
100%
allowed.
correct. But also we also have to provide mental health services. We also have to provide things that allow people to de-escalate situations so that they don't get in, so they don't get.
Humanistic way of doing
We
it.
have it. We have all of that. That's what I'm saying. And that's why the temporary encampment worked. So we're just asking the aldermen to open up their wards and let us
It's
find a
not-
place.
Okay, so.
That's
so-
it.
Not for
so-
tents.
So let me say this.
I didn't get a chance to, go ahead, I'm sorry.
You didn't get a chance to what, Mr. Slaw?
I'm sorry,
I'm
my
sorry.
3 minutes
sorry.
was
I
literally,
shouldn't.
we
That's my pet
had our
peeve.
little tape.
I'm sorry.
I love you, I love your passion though, really.
I'm sorry.
And because I know we all want the same thing.
Okay, you asked a question.
Yes, sir.
And I'll give you another minute or two if you have another question. But,
Okay?
because I am also an alderman, that is not going to happen encampment in my ward. But let me tell you why. It's not that I'm insensitive, because I have the Hope House, which does transitional housing.
Yes.
We've had a horrible experience the past couple of years with homeless people inside of churches.
Sure.
One mismanaged organization allowed the people in there, they just tore up the church, basically,
Sure.
one church. The other church, because they were only able to come in during certain times of the day. And so when the doors went open, they just had bowel movements all around the church. I mean, it was just horrible and disrespectful to the community. And what you don't understand, I want people to please understand our role as an alderman. Our constituents hold us personally responsible for all the bad, rarely the good, but all the bad. We are somehow personally responsible, and we report to our constituents. So when our constituents say, we don't want that here, we have an obligation to the people that we serve in our geography to listen to the people like we are here to listen to people about the ARPA funds. And then I'm going to shift over, because you brought up the warehouse, which is in the 5th Ward, and then I'm going to give you a minute and a half because we got to get ready. It's after
Yes, sir.
12.
I understand.
So, and I see there's a few more people in line. So, and then we just got to move on. Go ahead, Ms. Alderman Page.
Yes, thank you so much. I listened very closely to what you were saying.
Yes.
And you were saying that the ward should open up. I am proud to represent the fabulous 5th Ward. And I kind of wanted to share a couple of things. They are, just so that everyone knows, I'm sure you already know. Number one, we have St. Patrick's Center.
Yes.
We have Biddle House. We have Hope House on Hogan Street.
Yep.
We also have the Youth Detention Center, which is also on Hogan Street. We have Gateway 180. We have Sunshine Ministries. Need I go on? We have a large variety of services and institutions to help people who are in various states of unhoused situations for various reasons. So the fact that, the ward should open up doesn't apply to the fabulous 5th. Okay, let's talk about, just for a moment, about Camp Cole and his, you know it by
Camp
that
Cole,
name.
I figured it was a success.
I know it extremely well because I helped organize it.
Okay.
But the thing about it is, Camp Cole was set up as an alternative to Interco Plaza.
Yes.
You do know that.
I do know that.
And Interco Plaza, unfortunately, was allowed to exist longer than it should have, and we ended up with one critical shooting, one fatal shooting,
Yes.
multiple people who were accosted and
Assaulted,
beat
yes.
terribly with aluminum baseball bats. That's what happened there. So we set up a much more orderly, with not police, but 24/7 staff, 2 people per shift at Camp Cole. The thing about it is we could not perpetuate. Camp Cole was a beautiful model.
Yes.
It was a wonderful success.
Agreed.
But we could not continue that. I tried massively to continue that because of the success that it was. Tell you another thing that's a beautiful thing about that warehouse model at Camp Cole. I personally worked with the health department to make sure that we had, you saw the industrial fans?
Yes.
You saw the warehouse doors that were raised?
Yes.
I'm not aware, and I did check, I'm not aware of one COVID infection that came out of that. That was a beautiful model.
That's still true.
But we could not continue it because that's privately owned property, and the owner was unable to continue it. So we had to stand it down.
Correct.
But the Fifth Ward, as you know, and I saw my good friend Mike Willis, who's related to Bishop Robinson over here earlier. He's associated with Biddle House and with Hope House and
Right.
others.
Yes, sir.
So I think what you say about the ward should open up doesn't apply uniformly.
No.
We are doing what we can. It's biblical. The Bible tells us that the poor you will have with you always. And it is incumbent upon us to do what we can for the least amongst us. We also have Jefferson Spaces at Martin Luther King and Jefferson, which is Mr. Duckett and his staff. Phenomenally managed tiny homes community. So we're doing what we can in the Fifth Ward.
Yes.
Just wanted to let everyone know that the ward should open up, does not apply uniformly.
I just want to put a bow on this.
Okay, you got
Because-
a minute 30,
Wait,
okay?
No, I'm answering this question. I just want to put a bow on this. We both agree that Camp Cole worked, right? And to do that again, we would have to find a space that would be similar to the warehouse that we had before. But if the alderman is saying not in my ward, then we're limited to the spaces that we can even look at to replicate Camp Cole. That was my whole point from the very beginning. And that's the point that I'm trying to make. If we don't have access to go and look at spaces to replicate Camp Cole, then how are we going to do it if the alderman is saying not in my ward? That was my whole point from the very beginning.
Well, that was for
tents.
encampments with tents.
That's what, well, no, we're talking about Camp Cole. Right,
Well,
we're not talking about
okay,
outdoor
that's
encampments.
what we said
People
no
getting
to.
rained on and stuff
We've
like that.
never said no to anything else but the
great.
tents.
Great,
That's
thank
it.
you. Thank you for
I
clearing
will
that up.
tell you this, and I'll stop.
Yep,
I am looking for an opportunity to replicate Camp Cole.
okay.
I'll leave it there.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Okay, now, my other 2 points I can make real quick.
Go ahead.
Number one, I love the idea of what you guys are doing in North City with the small businesses and things like that. But I would like to see a plan to bring more enterprise level businesses into North City that are actually going to provide jobs and they're actually going to provide more opportunities. Businesses that employ 250 to 500 employees minimum, so that we can have more jobs and more opportunities for the people on the north
And
side.
that is happening
Because
every
the
day.
$100,000 or less, their only employee is the owner. So I would like to see more enterprise businesses come into North City. I think the First Ward has done a great job of getting, some good businesses over there, restaurants, Walgreens, things like that. And I would like to see more of that on the north side because they really don't exist. So more enterprise level corporate businesses from around the country that are headquartered in other places. And then the other thing is I would like to see more police substations. We're talking about public safety. We talk about things like that. I literally was in the town hall with the chief, and the chief said if you build us a substation, it will come. Well, the reason why Lafayette Square and other places have police substations is because they pay for them. So why not use some of these monies to build police substations in our neighborhoods? One of the vacant buildings on Euclid in our city is a police substation. It's dilapidated. So why not build more police substations? It'll increase the police presence, and we won't be having meetings police won't be having meetings in the middle of the street. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Slaughter, if you're here after it, I want to hear from you what you're doing with St. Louis County, okay?
St. Louis County?
Yeah, you know, I mean, because they got a lot of land out there too for homeless people. I just want to bring, this ain't a city problem dealing with the homeless. This need to be a regional problem.
I care about the city, I care
Okay.
about the city's homeless.
Okay. Well,
Because those are my, that's where I live.
I understand, but
Okay, we can work out, we'll talk.
we will, at the end. Okay? Thank you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
great. My name is Chanel Watkins, and I'm here representing I Am Healthy Communities, and I'm from the 5900 block of Broadway, South Broadway. So I am trying to understand who represents the 11th Ward here. Is there anyone representing the 11th Ward?
Well, Sarah Marchand was the alderman from the 11th Ward, but she resigned effectively Monday.
Monday.
Wow.
Yeah, so they'll
Okay.
be looking for a replacement in the next 90 days.
Yeah.
Okay, which is, you know, that's the reason, one of the reasons why I'm here. I've been looking for contacts in the 11th Ward. Basically, what we've been doing in the community is doing community sweeps, where we sweep Grand to Bates, I want to say, no, that's Bates and Broadway to Bates to Broadway and Dover. So we just go in the community, we clean it up. There's always been trash. There's just trash everywhere. So since we've been in the community, we go in there, we do community sweeps. We've been giving free, healthy lunches to the communities. So I'm trying to understand what resources are available so we can continue to work in the community. In that particular area, I'm not sure if anyone knows, but with the area of Broadway and Bates to Broadway and Dover, there are issues with, I believe there are people on drugs, and there are hookers. It's very unsafe. Me and my children cannot just walk to the park in peace. So something needs to be done. A few of my neighbors, we call the police consistently when we see women outside just flashing cars, or we see people that obviously look like they are impaired, like they're drug impaired. But every time we call, no police officers literally come out immediately. So I'm asking what can be done about that? Can we have police officers walking the beat? Something needs to happen, because it's like gotten to a state of emergency where we're not feeling safe literally just walking down that strip of Broadway and Bates to Broadway and Dover. But if you go further down the road to like perhaps Loughborough, you got a beautiful park down there. There's no problem there. There's a library on Michigan, beautiful. But for some reason, I rarely see police officers in that little strip from Broadway and Bates to like Broadway and Dover. So, which brings me here today. I need contacts. I have questions, so I'm trying to get questions answered, because we've been in the community just doing the best that we can to clean up the community, to do family events. What resources are available to us? Who do I talk to about?
You can have my business card, and what I will do is put you in touch with your neighborhood stabilization person. I'll also put you in touch with your public relations person from the police department.
Oh, he's back there.
Okay.
Oh,
Great.
Okay, I didn't know you were back there. Okay, so.
Okay, because we need people
That's who
active
you work with.
in the community, because
And
everything.
They'll also help you, you probably also need to do, they'll help you get in touch with the Department of Human Services.
Okay.
And also the Recreation Department, so that you can have some summer programming and some other assistance there in that area where they can come in and work with people, okay?
Yes, because,
So there's
and that's my
tons of
question,
things they
like,
can help you with.
what resources are available?
Oh,
for-
it's tons of resources, I'll let
Okay.
him share it with you.
Okay, perfect. I had another question.
Okay.
Because, okay. Can there be more family-oriented events? The area that we stay in is industrial. There are businesses everywhere. There are 2 parks on Broadway, but there are rarely any family community events. And there's families in the area. So I'm trying to understand what is out there for us, what funding, what resources.
In most of our neighborhoods, it's the residents who create those things.
Okay.
That's not what we do.
Okay.
Residents create programming in their neighborhoods. Churches usually create things in their neighborhoods. That's where those things happen. It's
Okay.
not, the legislator does not come out and do things like that. That's, sometimes we do.
We support them. when
Come
they
and
have
support you
activities.
when you have an idea, but that's not what we do.
Okay, and who should I talk to specifically for these resources, you're telling me?
He's right in the back.
He's in the
gonna-
Okay, gotcha. Okay. And let me see, I think that's about it. And what about the police officers walking the beat? What can be done about that? We constantly call the police officers and nothing's done.
They don't come and walk in my neighborhood either.
Mine either.
What can we do about that?
You can talk to the captain of that district that you're in, and a lot of them are having meetings again, I believe. So they have a monthly meeting, you can go and express your concerns and see if they can do that. I highly doubt it, I'm just being honest with you.
Okay.
But I will say this.
2 days ago in our district with Captain Moore. The
Okay.
single #1 problem, we want police on the street, police need more money.
And that's Captain Moore.
What police officer is that?
Okay.
No, it's the fire chief. That's the fire chief. No, that's the fire chief.
And let me say this, Miss Watkins, for the record, you live in South St. Louis, correct?
Correct, 11th Ward,
And
Carondelet area.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and for the record, it's the Carondelet area, the 11th Ward.
And that's on the south side.
Yes, sir.
And what I want to say to you is that I have the same problem on the west side.
Wow.
Even outside my house, prostitution is a low-level activity that the current administration is not going to take seriously because it doesn't harm anybody. And so the police, they'll come, let them out the next day or two, and it's like a vicious cycle. You know, we've been encouraged to, there are going to be social workers out there, and they're going to deal with these prostitutes. I haven't seen them yet. You know, I'm hopeful that it will happen sometime soon because these people doing prostitution are temporarily mentally ill.
Yes.
They're on drugs and they're selling their bodies so they can, continue to be high. And they really need some help.
Yeah, and it's bringing the community, the property value down.
Absolutely it does.
Yes.
And it's a big challenge. It's not just, and I did ride with your former alderwoman a few years ago along that strip because people always say, it don't happen on the south side. They don't experience it on the south side. It's only on the north side. It's only on the west side. And so sometimes we as colleagues move around and take tours of different areas so that we can share with our constituents that, hey, no, they have some of the same problems. They don't have the murders that we have on west and north side for the most part, but we share some of the same quality of life issues, those little small broken window issues. We share that across the whole city.
I see.
So talk to your neighborhood stabilization officer back there, and he gonna get you on track.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Theodore Higginbotham, and I operate and I operate a small business called HUDZ Drywall Taping and Painting. Like I said, I live at 5365 Claxton. I've been there since 1986, and of course, I've worked all over. And as I'm driving, I go down Jefferson and I see this big old project, NGA. I said, whoa, but that's gonna take a lot of money to operate. And the city gets money. So I said, hey, you know what, check with the city. Check with the city and see if I can get funding as far as to operate working with NGA. I can employ a lot of people, secretaries, estimators, the whole 9 yards.
NGA will talk to you and help you.
Yes, so.
They're begging for more small business people.
But it takes finance.
He's talking about capacity building money.
No, they have it. They have
Right.
it.
The
That's
NGA does?
Yeah.
NGA. Okay, well, I wasn't aware of it.
But the ARPA funds could pay for that as well, though.
Yeah.
So that's what he's here about.
Right, correct. So if I could get the funding and the know-how as far as the people to be contact with, I could operate at full capacity.
Well, I do know that St. Louis Development Corporation is getting the $37 million for the north side corridors, and they're working on the application process. They also have some money for capacity as well. And so if you can go on the St. Louis Development Corporation's website, frequently you may see some grant opportunities for small businesses. I know they did the $5,000.
It's still open.
Open, and it's open until they get, I think, 1,400 people. And then they're going to close it off.
Okay. All right, that's what I need. Thank you.
Thank you for
Appreciate
sharing.
it.
And just drop by the NGA site. There's a trailer there.
Yes.
There are people in there who will help you. They just broke down a huge amount of money to provide smaller contract opportunities. You know, maybe you're not ready for RFP of $1 million, but you could do an RFP for $250,000 or $500,000.
And work my way up.
They're begging you to show up.
I will show up.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Good afternoon. Thank you for being here. My name is John Crowley. I live in the neighborhood at 6122 Dewey Avenue. You're all welcome to come by and have a cup of coffee. I'm recently retired. I'll be on the front porch. I'm going to try and stay within the theme that I thought we were supposed to be having here today, which is I like my lights, they pick up the trash, and my streets are cleaned regularly and well. The other day, I think one of the golf carts with the two policemen on Holly Hills got misdirected a little bit, and they came down my street. Glad to see them, like to see more of them. What should we do with the money? Like the lady said, if you're not comfortable and you're not feeling safe, the rest of it is really of less consequence. So, now I'm good. So thank you, stop by. And the only thing I have, ma'am, and I don't want to pick on you, but you seem pretty consistent with this, what's the difference between negotiating funding and spending?
There's a huge difference.
But why don't you just give me a little bit, because it sounds like the same thing to me.
I like clarifying this because it's very hard for people to understand.
And I'm done within the 3 minutes.
Yeah, it's very hard for people to understand. Our city charter is set up in a way where the Board of Aldermen, we are legislators, so we approve and set policy and create the opportunity for things to be moved to the executive branch of government. Our executive branch of government is responsible for spending and providing services. So all those departments we've been talking about, the Community Development Agency, the St. Louis Development Corporation, Department of Human Services, and on, that's under the executive branch. That's under the mayor. And they create contracts. They do RFPs for services to be provided. They also have all the city departments under the executive branch. We do not manage employees. That is not our job. That's over with the executive branch. And so when you call us about a problem, we then have to go find out what's going on over there for you. But we have no power to go and say, I see my fire chiefs back there. I can't go tell the fire chief what to do. That's not my role. I can't do that.
What I'm trying to say to you, your answer is blah, blah. When this gentleman says, I think it's important that this happens and I get people to get picked up that need a ride, and I'm going to negotiate the funding to have that, that is spending money.
No, it's not.
Money's not going to be spent.
No, it's not. He's not going to put his name on any contract.
It's all good.
No, he's not going to put his name on any contract. No.
Remember, I said during my remarks that I did not spend a single dime. I advocated for allocation of the funds.
For that, somebody else went without.
It was an RFP, a request for proposals was let. It went through the city's purchasing process.
I think you did a good job. I'm agreeing with you.
Thank you.
I'm just saying, to say you didn't have any influence on where the money was spent is.
Influence, yes. Spending, no.
Got it.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
I'm back, and this is going to take under 3 minutes.
No, go ahead. Okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. My name is Leah Johnson. My name's Leah Johnson, and I just wanted to keep this short and simple, that the voices that I've heard, and I'm representing those from my community, that I think there's 3 things that I think this money should be spent. One is for youth. I think there should be a pipeline created for youth to expose them to these different civilian jobs. And earlier, man talked about the recycling and trash. I think we should expose these youth to the normal jobs that we need to support this community. And I recycle myself, and it just hardens me that our recycling is going to the landfill, and that's producing a lot of, you know, greenhouse gases, and I think that's important for us to pay our workers. They're only getting paid $15 an hour. That's ridiculous, and of course you're not going to find workers to separate the trash. And for a person like me who recycles every day, and to know that it's not going anywhere, my work, the people in my neighborhood, their work isn't going anywhere to help this environment and the world, that's disappointing. So I feel like the money needs to go to those workers that have those jobs, and create that pipeline for youth to maybe when they graduate high school, we'll have more people who want to work in these city jobs that can sustain this community and help us. And my last thing is to address the food apartheid issue in St. Louis. I think I'm working on a grant, as one of my colleagues said earlier, that we're working on a grant to address the food apartheid issue and the food access issue, especially in the Southeast City and the North City area. I think that the funds should be provided to that and help us implement and sustain a plan that addresses food access so that everybody in the city and the St. Louis County has access to good, healthy, quality food. And I agree with someone earlier about the environment. We need to make the city prettier. I can go from block to block and it's beautiful and then it's trash. I think if you want to see crime rates go down, they're vandalizing these properties because they look like trash. And I feel like if we make the environment around them better, when I go out into the county or when I go to Lafayette Square, it looks beautiful. And who's going to want to destroy that? People are going to be motivated to pick up their dog poop, to make, stop littering. I think just if the environment around these areas that have low access, low income, if they look prettier, they're going to make their city better. So thank you.
Do you work with Elevate?
Evolve.
I'm sorry, Evolve. Okay.
Evolve.
Thanks. Okay.
Yeah.
My name is Katie Evans. I spoke earlier, 3900 Wilmington. Thing about people living in tents. It's not inhuman for rich white people to go live out in the woods in a tent. People should not have their only possessions taken from them because people decide it's inhuman. These tent encampments can be stabilizing if they're clean, if they're well taken care of. And that's what people need to move up to the next level, is a stable place to move to the next step up. And that's what these tent encampments can do. Yeah, there's crime in them, but there's crime on the street. There's crime in neighborhoods. It is actually no different to say that, oh, there's crime in the tent, and oh, but it's different because it happens around houses. Those are not the same. Those are the same. That's still crime. The tents don't influence it, and it's disheartening to hear. Also, sex workers are not mentally ill.
I said temporarily.
No, sir, not even temporarily. It is a job. It is a work. They deserve to have safe working environments that protect them from sexually transmitted diseases, that protect them from people who are willing and wanting to commit harm against them. They should be protected against when their clients rape them. They deserve protection. They deserve a safe place. And it's disheartening to hear. It's like, oh, they're mentally ill. No, they're not. For some people, it is a choice. I'm sorry?
Or that they only do it for a drug fix.
There are a lot of ways. And it is, no, sir, there's absolutely no way that you can back up and say that was not a dehumanizing statement, because it was, and it was dismissive.
Well, I'm sorry you feel that way.
No, sir, do not apologize for my feelings. Apologize for what you said, because that is not an apology.
Let me tell you something.
No, you're not going to tell me anything.
No, let me tell you something. Number one, are you willing to put 4 camps in your backyard?
Yes.
Okay, good. Talk to Mr. George Slaughter, both of y'all.
That's my alderperson right there.
Talk to him about putting 4 people in your backyard. The other thing you're going to tell me, I've been dealing with prostitution for 20 years. And I talk to a lot of people in that space.
Are you talking about the people who pay money and are rich enough to vote and take the time to vote? Because even poor people are your constituents too. And
That's
they
what I
deserve to be
represent
treated as
majority
human.
of.
But apparently you are unable to do so because they're temporarily mentally ill.
Did I say everybody
Yes.
that I say I
He didn't
experienced
say
that?
that,
You
Ma'am,
experienced that, but that is
Ma'am,
a
he didn't
Listen, let me tell you something.
dehumanizing
Your time is
view
up.
of people.
Your time is up. Thank you.
He didn't say that.
Everybody, boy, I tell you what, we hear what we want to hear sometimes, but I do encourage anybody that's interested in having encampments in their backyard, please see Mr. George Slaughter up here. He'll be more than happy to support that. Anybody that want to get out here in my neighborhood and deal with the prostitutes, please call me, email me, come in my neighborhood. Jesus Christ. They whatever I just called them. It's in the dictionary. You ain't gonna demand that I speak your language. I'm my own person and I have my own opinions. So you just shut up. You can shut up, and I mean it. This meeting is adjourned. I want to thank everybody for coming.